diplomacy with Iran. Last Monday, Iran's brutal regime hanged 2 men on charges of blasphemy as hundreds of executions have been carried out this year following nationwide anti-government protests over the death of 22-year-old Mahsa Amini last September. Despite this, Iran has been selected to serve as chair of the Human Rights Council Social Forum at the United Nations next year, if you can believe that one. Joining us right now with more on all of this is His Royal Highness, the exiled Crown Prince of Iran, Reza Pahlavi. Your Highness, thanks very much for being here this morning.
Good morning, Maria. And first and foremost, allow me to wish Happy Mother's Day to all our viewers. But it also comes with sad feelings of so many mothers in Iran today mourning the loss of their children who were either executed or murdered.
Well, thank you for saying that. And our hearts go out to those people and the strength and conviction that women of Iran have had. I am just behind them all the way. Tell me where you see things headed now. Are we at a point of revolution again?
We are. It's been months. The question is what will make the balance tilt fully in favor of the Iranian people. In other words, push the regime over the brink of the precipice. It takes some factors. I would say the first factor would be maximum pressure in the sense of the continuing of economic sanctions, provided, of course, they are implemented, which this administration has yet to prove that they are really pushing for full sanctions. That would be putting more pressure on the regime. In that context, putting the IRGC on the list of terrorist groups will further cripple the regime in its means of having more income to basically fuel their war machine and their proxies in the region from Syria to Lebanon and elsewhere. And there are some other means to even bring more pressure. Then there's an element of maximum support, something I've been to Lebanon and elsewhere. And there are some other means to even bring more pressure. Then there's an element of maximum support, something I've been advocated for years. How could you actually empower the Iranian people? Internet access, funding strike funds. An idea around strike fund and the way it could be funded is something I've been floating around. If there's a legal way to repurpose frozen assets of the regime, which is after all the Iranian people's money, and repurpose that towards funding these strike funds, that's all of a sudden a complete change of balance of power between a regime that is trying to repress its people and a citizenry that is longing to be free.
Well, I think this is a great point that you make, the strike funds. How would those in charge get access to that and be able to repurpose that? I mean, the money is where?
Well, the money is actually frozen. This is assets of the regime, and for that matter, additional assets that could be frozen as a result of the IRGC being sanctioned on the terrorist list. But that money can be then accessed and used. The question is, there's a legal way to repurpose it. There's been some precedents, so I believe in the case of Venezuela and on some other cases too. The point is that we are not asking for American or French or British taxpayers to fund these funds. This is the actual money that belongs to the Iranian people in the first place. We should take it out of the regime's hands and put it back in the people's hands. That's the whole principle here.
Really an important idea that you've been talking about a lot. What is your take on America and its role here now, increasing the patrol in the Strait of Hormuz? How vulnerable is the strait, and what would you like to see from America?
Look, everything is based on the status quo. From the very beginning, every approach, whether it was the carrot or the stick, did not work, only because, Maria, the expectation was behavior change. As long as you don't understand the true DNA of this regime, that cannot coexist with a free world as its principle, it doesn't matter what you do. They won't change in attitude. So there will be a continuation of the nuclear threat. There will be a continuation of navigation interference and what have you. The question is, the solution to the problem is to change the status quo.
Yeah.
Like General de Gaulle once said, les circonstances ne sont pas favorables, il faudra donc changer les circonstances, which means the circumstances not being favorable will have to change.